some of this may be a rehash for people, but I've realized the Mandela Effect is real, even though I'd heard about it maybe 2 years ago by now. And so I came across this picture of my dad looking at our house before we redid it, and it has this VW bus, of course, in front of it. And I'm just gonna get it close up here. Uh, and it shows a gap partially, but there's some stuff in the middle, and you could say I don't know what you could say it is, but I just wanted to get right up close to this sucker. This is another one of these things where it's trying to put the gap in there. And there's some distortion in this. You can see that the metal has flaked off here. Looks like, or maybe that's glinting, I'm not sure. But it looks like metal is flaked off. So it's sort of like a dark underneath. But it looks like it wants to continue. This is another one of these situations that I'm seeing where, like, it's a photograph, and you can see here clear the line, but it's not perfect. And I don't know if this is something where how people think of the Mandela Effect differently. And this might be that some people think it's a time travel thing. And it could be that. I'm not dismissing that. There's a number of things, but I think it's like an overlay. Sort of, I tend to think it's, what they're doing at CERN. It's some sort of computer slash black magic thing. People think that it's separate, that science and religion are separate. They're not. And this is like, they've been building toward this, I believe. Black magic. So I think it's like a reality overlay. How time fits into this. And so I'll get into that next. But I just want people to look at this right here. Get a good look at that. Also wanted to show the back of the VW picture where it describes, the back of the house showing old clapboards, boarded up window under a tar paper siding, summer 1972, and Hitler's Revenge, which is the VW. I thought that was funny. Some people have talked about remembering that only four people sitting in the Kennedy motorcade, or Kennedy car, and that Connolly was in the front with the Secret Service agent in that history, if they remember. So the magic bullet theory could still work for that reality. But I read this book before the whole understanding of the Mandela Effect came in for me, and it's this where some guy has a doorway in the basement of his restaurant to 1961, maybe 60, 61, and he goes back in time to buy his meat. His hamburgers are very cheap, so he goes back in time to 1960 or whatever to buy meat there. Comes back with that meat and sells it for cheap in this time period. So that's kind of funny. And we know Stephen King is heavily into the occult. But a professor from a local college finds out about it from this guy and goes back in time to prevent the Kennedy assassination, and things get weirder and weirder. He tries to stop things, and it just gets, the reality is fighting against the change, which is an interesting thing when he tries to change things. And so here's our current reality, having the 6 people. And I looked back in the local paper. It has the 6 people. I should have Made a photocopy of that from the microfilm, but it's the same anyway, so it's a difference. So I just wanted to point that out, for people who have a different memory of it. I don't know. It's Stephen King. As far as time travel is concerned, this is a scene from Francis Ford Coppola's Peggy Sue Got Married. And it's a 50s movie. Well, it's a movie that takes place in, I think it's the early 80s, late 80s, maybe, mid 80s, something like that. And this woman goes to her 20th reunion prom, sort of a remake of the prom, and she falls back, hits her head, and travels back in time to maybe it was like the early 60s, 1960, something like that. So it's that 50s, 60s, still the quote unquote innocent era kind of thing. And her grandfather, she visits back in time. She's able to see her grandparents who have long since passed away. Her grandfather is a Freemason. He takes her to her lodge, to his lodge. And as we can see here, when they get into the lodge, they're aware of her condition, that she's from the future, and they say, our lodge was founded by a time traveler. And anybody who's looked into Freemasonry knows that they worship Lucifer, or the Antichrist, essentially. They'll say it's a dual god, that it's Jesus and Lucifer or Satan, whatever. They think it's dual, light and dark, the black and white squares, all that stuff. Good and evil, Star Wars, which we're going to get into next. So, founded by a time traveler. They call him the Lord of the Universe. They have this whole ritual in the lodge, which we can see here. Something about the spheres that they're really into. Look at this sphere here. This is the school stuff, but ruler of light. So they send her back into the future through this ritual. Just to get back to the overview. Got the circle set up here with her in the center. The female is center, the M, masonry. Got all the accoutrements. Also concerning the Masons and time travel, they call these annual assemblies communications. And of course, one might say they are communicating to their lodge members what goes on. But also it could be a communication from the enemy, so to speak. Regular communication of the Burlington Lodge, the Sonic Temple. This is from, I want to say, 40s, 1940s maybe, 30s actually. So, since we're speaking of time travel, this is Star Wars, which apparently took place in the past, according to the mythology. And talking about C3PO's silver leg, which you can see here. I think this is on the snow planet, the base that the rebels have in the second movie, Empire Strikes Back. So, and here's a story that I have from this. People were talking about C3PO's silver leg. I was like, well, I remember that once in these cards that I collected. And these are them. I dug them out. Still have them. And so he has the little silver leg, and I remember seeing this in these cards and thinking, that's weird. Why does he have a silver leg? Because he has a gold leg in every other picture. And let's see if we can drag that gold leg up. And the other. So here he has gold leg, both of them. This one looks like it, but it's this leg that's the one that's silver normally. So here we have the gold leg, and I had the C3PO little doll, little figurine, and that was gold, completely gold. But somehow there was this silver in there as well. I think it's officially silver. So I got all the cards that had C3PO's legs in it, and that one looks gold, 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 silver, fairly silver there. Hard to tell though because there's a lot of white in the picture. Could be a reflection, but looks silver. And so also this picture, well, that one's silver. That one's gold. Also, while looking at this, I saw a painting of Darth Vader's facial thing there. And that one's a weird one. I'm not sure what to think about that. Not this picture. It looks like it's what I kind of remember it. And it doesn't look as white right there, that central nose. So I just wanted to show people that.